1. Mory Travis. Between 2000 and 2002, the city of St. Louis was shaken by a series of mysterious disappearances. The victims were mostly women working as prostitutes, and the man behind it all was Mory Travis, a seemingly mild-mannered hotel employee. But in the basement of his house, Travis built a literal torture chamber, recording his crimes as if he were the director of some twisted horror film. If he had stayed quiet, he might have gone on killing for years. But like many overconfident killers, Travis made a mistake so dumb that today it almost sounds comical. After the St. Louis Post-Dispatch published an article about one of the victims, Travis sent an anonymous letter to the newsroom, writing, "I'll show you where a few more bodies are." To prove he was serious, he attached a printed map from Expedia.com. Yes, you guessed it. He basically gave away his IP address with a single click, like posting a story bragging about his crimes on Instagram and waiting for the police to like it. The FBI contacted Expedia, traced the IP address, and all leads pointed straight to Travis's home. When police raided the place, they found the torture chamber videotapes of the murder's newspaper clippings, basically an entire crime museum he had proudly collected. During interrogation, Travis slipped up again by asking, "Can you show me the girls I killed?" even though the police had never confirmed they were dead. Another self-inflicted wound. Travis was arrested in 2002, but only 3 days later he hanged himself in prison. 2. Elmer Wayne Henley. In the early 1970s, Houston, Texas lived in fear of Dean Corll, nicknamed the Candyman, because he lured kids with candy. Corll, along with two accomplices, David Brooks and Elmer Wayne Henley, abducted, tortured, and murdered over 28 teenage boys. For years, Henley helped Corll lure victims, tie them up, and even bragged about making money by literally selling his friends to the devil. A startup more terrifying than any crypto scam today? But in 1973, things took an unexpected turn. During a drunken party, Corll lost his temper and threatened to kill Henley along with a 15-year-old girl. In panic, Henley begged for his life, promising to cooperate. But when Corll let his guard down, Henley grabbed a gun and fired 6 shots, killing the infamous serial killer on the spot. Henley thought he would be hailed as a hero. But life isn't a Hollywood movie. When the police arrived, he spilled the whole gruesome secret: dozens of bodies buried across Houston. Instead of applause, he was put on trial in 1974. The police didn't see him as a rescuer, they saw him as an accomplice to mass murder. Henley was sentenced to multiple life terms and remains behind bars to this day. 3. Ted Bundy. In the 1970s, the name Ted Bundy spread terror across America. On the outside, he was a charming law student, handsome, polite, and disarming. But beneath that smile was a ruthless killer who preyed on young women, leaving at least 30 victims. In 1975, Bundy was arrested for kidnapping, but he denied everything. Then came the escape attempts straight out of a bad action movie. First, he leapt from a second-floor courthouse window and ran off. Problem was, he had no plan. After days of starving and wandering, he was caught again. The second time, he starved himself thin enough to crawl through a ceiling vent in a Colorado jail, and this time, he made it to Florida. Sounds cinematic, right? Except it was also his biggest mistake. Bundy left evidence everywhere. He stole cars, crashed them, and when police asked for his ID, he nervously handed over a fake card, so obviously bogus it was basically an invitation. "Please arrest me." Bundy was finally sentenced to death for the 1978 Florida State University murders. On the day of his execution, crowds gathered outside like it was a football game, cheering as the electric chair was switched on. 4. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, better known as the Night Stalker, prowled California like a predator in the dark, leaving behind a trail of terror. His first mistake: a pair of size 11.5 Avia sneakers. At nearly every crime scene, police found the same shoe print. Since the model was extremely rare, tracking Ramirez was basically easy mode for investigators. Yet he kept wearing the same shoes everywhere, as if begging to be caught. His second mistake: fame. The more he killed, the more the media covered him. When his face was released to the public, the city erupted in fear and vigilance. Flyers with his mugshot were everywhere. One day, Ramirez casually strolled into a convenience store, only to realize everyone was staring at him. What happened next was pure humiliation. Instead of a dramatic police chase, Ramirez was chased down by everyday citizens. They beat him, held him down, and waited for police to arrive. The once feared Night Stalker ended up looking like a chicken thief caught by an angry village. In 1989, Ramirez was sentenced to death for 13 murders and countless other crimes. But instead of execution, he lingered in prison for decades, finally dying of cancer in 2013. 5. Aileen Wuornos. In the late 1980s, Florida highways became the hunting grounds of Aileen Wuornos, a drifter and prostitute who targeted men. Wuornos's downfall came from her own recklessness. After killing one victim, she drove his car around as if it were her own. Problem: she was a terrible driver. She crashed, abandoned the vehicle, leaving behind fingerprints and personal belongings. It was basically a trail of breadcrumbs leading the police right to her. Another fatal blunder. Wuornos bragged about her crimes to her girlfriend Tyria Moore. When police leaned on Moore, she quickly turned secretly recording Wuornos's confessions. It was the equivalent of signing her own death warrant with her mouth. In 1991, Wuornos was arrested and sentenced to death. In prison, she became notorious for bizarre rants, sometimes cursing out the media, other times declaring herself a messenger of God. On her 2002 execution day, she walked to the chair calmly, leaving behind a legacy both tragic and deranged. 6. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, the man who called himself BTK Bind, torture kill, terrorized Kansas for decades, starting in the 1970s. After nearly 30 years of silence, Rader got cocky and wanted to play games again. In 2004, he wrote to police asking a question so stupid it's hard to believe. "If I send you a floppy disk, can you trace it back to me?" Police, holding back laughter, reassured him, "No, of course not. Send it, you'll be safe." And just like some gullible uncle on Yahoo Messenger, Rader mailed them the disk. Within minutes, investigators pulled metadata from the files. It revealed the name Dennis and linked directly to the Lutheran church where he was president of the council. The so-called criminal mastermind had just outed himself with Microsoft Word. On February 25, 2005, Rader was arrested. In interrogation, he whined in disbelief. "You're lying, you guys promised." That's not fair, as if serial killers have the right to demand fair play. He was sentenced to 10 life terms. The genius killer became a worldwide punchline, all thanks to one of the dumbest questions in crime history. 7. Charles Cullen. Unlike most killers who hid in the shadows, Charles Cullen chose the brightest place of all hospitals. For over 16 years working as a nurse in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, he quietly injected patients with lethal doses of medication. Cullen admitted to killing over 40 people, but the real number may be 400 or more, a chilling record. His biggest mistake: believing hospitals were the perfect cover. Who would suspect the kind nurse at the bedside? But the numbers didn't lie. Wherever Cullen worked, death rates skyrocketed. Every time he moved to a new hospital, mysterious deaths followed. The red flag came when several patients died immediately after being injected with digoxin, a heart medication that hadn't even been prescribed to them. Cullen wasn't caught by a silly blunder like Ramirez or Rader, but by sharp colleagues. Nurse Amy Loughran and a hospital pharmacist secretly monitored him, cross-checking drug records with patient deaths. The pattern was undeniable. Police simply had to show up and make the arrest. In 2003, Cullen confessed and was sentenced to 11 consecutive life terms. In court, he sat quietly, no boasting, no excuses, just a hollow shell of a man, like a ghost that had already left his body. So what do you think? Were these killers unbelievably stupid? Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe to catch the next part.